What it do, baby? Sup, everybody? Back again for another episode of the Corrupt Cash Cleaners podcast. It's your boy, and let's get into it. So, that debate was last night, and I'm gonna leave it at that. How I've seen it affecting the stock market is election fears have people wanting to sell on both sides. There are arguments made for each candidate that if they were to be elected, it would negatively affect the stock market and certain companies. At this point, it's about what state you live in, what your holdings are like, and how much you want to liquidate over a certain amount of period of time. I don't believe any of this fear is going to subside before the election, but I don't think it will necessarily grow because I think everyone understands their candidate fully. So, if you feel like it's best for you to sell, sell. If you feel like you'll weather the storm no matter what, hold on and enjoy the show. All right, let's get into that TikTok. I need to get a camera in here so I can start dancing every time this segment comes up. So, there isn't much news except that a judge has stopped the ban of TikTok temporarily. Of course, the deal now is being held up through this Chinese side. The Chinese government is not too keen to the deal. The US approved it. I'm sure once they revise things, the US won't be too keen to it, and we'll have to revise things. And this won't get solved soon. But at the rate it's going, I do see a judge probably stepping in every time Donnie feels like pulling the plug. How that affects Oracle and Walmart, they've had good years. They've had good years, good quarters to date. They're solid investments on their own. But if they are able to accomplish this deal, then it would have been a good investment. The new news that is driving Netflix stock, they are expected to make some price hikes in the coming future. Now, this might have been the second, third time they have done this just based off of my subscription history with Netflix. And will the hikes be extreme? Probably not. I feel like they're probably going to try and match the HBO price of $16 a month per subscription. Now, a lot of people are concerned that will this spark another round of service cancellations? As we know, before this COVID pandemic, Netflix was kind of in a pickle. They were losing more subscriptions than they were gaining for the first time in history. And just because they had a few good quarters does not mean that history isn't repeatable. But I don't know how many of the core Netflix base would truly shift away. The subscription-based model is so effective in charging you money without you knowing it. And by the time you actually figure it out, you probably already submitted to their will. I don't see this ending negatively for Netflix as a company. Speaking about running up your service fees, a coalition has been formed against Apple because we all know how their service fees on the App Store run 30% of any purchase or revenue pulled in through their device. And people are haters. So the Coalition for App Fairness was formed. Here are just some big names: Spotify, pussies; Epic Gaming, pussies; Blockchain, not pussies, but still. I feel like best case scenario for this whole movement is that they get Apple to play fair. This feels like that moment in the movies where all the kids on the playground team up and step up to the bully. The thing that movie doesn't show you is you eventually gonna be by yourself. And what happens when you run into the boss then? And that's how I feel like this coalition is happening. Is the upside there if they team up and work together? Yeah, they could accomplish things. But once they get pulled back into their own individual deals, Apple will make them feel the weight of their nutsack on their forehead. The good thing, though, for this coalition, I feel like their movement has temporarily halted the trading up of Apple stock. People are still siding with that company. People still believe Apple's the greatest company in the world and can overcome anything. But in terms of immediate upside, at least for trading, that movement has slowed down just because people want to see what is this coalition's next steps, next plans. and how deep can they truly take this, even though the hopes are low. I just want to point out, as we all know, the stock market and the true economy aren't directly linked. And that is why certain negative news for the public can positively benefit corporate industries. And that leads us into layoffs. And it's happening because all these stimulus plans and the PPP Loan Act, they all end in September, October. And that's when all the companies are now allowed to clear the debt they have. And unfortunately, your cousin Sally is debt. And they're going to clear them to make positive room for investments in the future. Starting with that is what we probably all knew, the airline industry. The airline traffic is still 70% lower than it was before the pandemic. That is having a huge effect on the cash burn and debt ratio of the airline industry. On a positive note, United Airlines struck a deal with its pilots union to save a bunch of jobs. But it is being estimated that the industry still expects 35,000 to 50,000 jobs to be laid off over the coming months. How will that affect the trading of these airline stocks? You'll have the negative national attention, but on the other end, you'll have business models able to start shaping in a way to preserve the company's value. And airlines have always been more of a trade than an investment. They're a volatile industry. What I would say is, if you want to get in, now is a great time. But there will be a lot of headlines coming out that is not going to make you feel well throughout the rest of 2020. Take that with a grain of salt and flip your cash. Unfortunately, airlines aren't the only companies laying people off. Disney announced 28,000 job cuts. They blamed the bulk of these layoffs coming from the California government refusal to work with corporations and opening up safely to maintain business. And they're kind of right. But their stock also took a huge hit. It dipped like $5, $6 a share immediately after the announcement. And this is where you start to realize the public persona of a layoff and how that affects the trading price. Again, Disney's another company that's killing it right now. So, for me personally, I feel like this would be a better investment than the airlines, just because how volatile that industry is. Disney posted great quarters, sports are coming back, they're making all the revenue streams that they had in the past, minus the theme parks. Is that a huge factor in their revenue stream? Of course. But no business structure has really changed. So if anything, this was a blessing to all those people who maybe fucked up the first round of buying opportunities to get into the stock. This is your new saving grace, because Disney is a company that will succeed and will thrive through this. It is just unfortunate to hear that they aren't going to take their whole workforce with them. All right, on some lighter news, here's some money going into the economy. GM is investing $71 million on 2 plants in Ohio. That is huge. Ohio is one of those manufacturing states. This is going to bring a lot of jobs, a lot of resources back into the middle of America, which in turn would help grow other areas of Middle America. Middle America travels and does business with Middle America. So the economic advancement of the people within those states would help with the economic advancement of America as a whole. GM's a great company. They still produce massive amounts of vehicles that are at an affordable rate for the economic conditions that we're in. I would invest money in now at the ground level, post-dip, to reap the benefits of all these seeds they're planting going forward. One of these seeds, though, is looking a little sketchy, and that's the Nikola deal. So for every deal, there's a deadline. And apparently, GM is willing to let it go past that. They heard the news just like everyone else has, and everyone's been speculating what will GM do in reaction to the claims that Nikola's products aren't as developed as they claim they are. And GM is kind of not buying still, not selling still. They're holding. And I think that's interesting. And I think that's maybe the smartest move because you already struck a deal in principle that can still be completed with a company that many people believe, if they're able to actually create what they talk about, will have a massive economic foothold in the transportation of goods industry. In light of all the news and speculation, this isn't a easy situation to be in, and it isn't as easy to say they lied, let's pull out. GM got to a fork in the road and they sat the fuck down. They're like, I'm gonna see how this shitstorm ends. That's why I say buy GM. They're calculated and they're patient. And that might be the difference in billions of dollars in the years to come. If you're talking about investments, you can't talk about cars and not talk about homes. And the home industry has been killing it. Post-pandemic, the real estate market has been outperforming the stock market. The ITB is up 80% over the last 6 months. You know what's helping that? Low interest rates, low mortgage rates. Companies like Innovation Homes have been barely hit by each one of these stock dips. The demand for single-family homes only seems to be growing. The realest issue threatening the home industry market is the lack of supplies. They are burning through every piece of material they have, and that's a great thing. If you can, I would always say the best investment is a home, but if not, pick the home companies because families want space, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. All right, everybody, you know what segment it is. When did that happen? News. So, the Wells Fargo CEO got caught showing his true feelings. He said that there's a limited black talent pool and that's why they didn't reach their diversity quotas. When will they learn? If they believe a certain resume is unqualified compared to the exact same resume of a different person of a different ethnicity, that's on them. You could tell just from the beginning this is a bunch of horse shit. This news hasn't affected the stock price, nor do I think it will. But it's something to keep an eye on going forward, especially if you're invested in this company, because people and leadership groups who fuck up things like this once tend to fuck them up again. And who knows how bad the next one can be. So normally on the corrupt cash cleaners, we talk about the big boys and see how what they do affects our money. But here's something that's happening on a stage below them that will eventually affect all of us. So LA has the most small business financial closures during this pandemic. And that is bad because money trickles up more than it trickles down. And people from small stores buy stuff from bigger stores who buy stuff from bigger stores. So this hasn't necessarily disrupted markets yet, but paying attention to the amount of small business closures will help us see where this is going down the line. Something quietly snuck in there through last night's shit show of a debate. I watched for entertainment value, but I know some people were taking this seriously, and for those, I pray for you. But something I thought I had to address on the podcast is that Biden is reportedly thinking of increasing the corporate tax rate from 21 to 28%. Now, in theory, in an idealistic society, would more corporate tax benefit the society? Yes. But in a pandemic world, raising the corporate tax rate, to me, my mind immediately goes towards layoffs. Because if you think these shareholders aren't going to get theirs, you're tripping. So the more money the government takes from corporations, the more money corporations will take from the American people. And I'm not saying his plan won't work better down the line. I'm not saying his plan won't fail immediately. I'm just saying that these are the specifics that we need to pay attention to. I don't care about red or blue. Just don't fuck with the green. Peace, fam.